Now you can see how hectic this is just for making one control. I'm gonna go you and show a few more controls, and then you guys can probably figure out how things work. Then I'll show you the completed version directly. So here, next step we need to have is this username text view over here. And another thing which I need to tell you guys is to give IDs for each of them. Now the reason for that is this: when you say username text view, it should appear below the please login first text view, right? So for that, we need the ID of this please login first text view, so that we can tell the username that hey, appear below this guy. If you guys remember the XML syntax for defining those attributes, layout below, layout to the right of, they all take an ID, right? So here in Java, the IDs are going to be integers. So for each of them, I'm going to create separate IDs over here at the top. I'm going to say int message ID. This is going to be message please login first ID for that. Then there is the username ID. Then there is this edit text which also needs an ID. For that, I'm going to say username value ID, password ID. Then this edit text is called password value here in this case. Ultimately, this button which is called login, for that also we need an ID. I'm going to say login ID. Alright. Now for each of them, of course, I'm going to give values. It's going to be very simple values over here. The first one will have 1, the next one will have 2, and so on, right? Alright, so now that I have given created IDs over here, let's set an ID for this text view which says please login first. Now which is that text view? I've written it over here, please login first. This is the text view message. For this we need to set an ID. Here I'm gonna go inside this create text message text view method, and where I have written set text, right below that I'm gonna simply say message dot set ID, and I'm gonna pass one of those integers which I created above. Now if you guys see, message ID is what I'm gonna pass over here, and we are done, right? That's basically done. So next, let's create this text view which says username. For that, I'm gonna simply create another method which will say. Now inside this method, the same steps are to be followed. We need to give this username text view some dimensions, which is going to be wrap content in width, wrap content in height. For that, I'm gonna copy paste this layout params object which we have created here. In fact, we need to create another layout params object for over here, right? Message dimensions, we need to create something called username dimensions over here. Now this username dimensions object will hold the width and height for this username text view over here. So let's go and make that inside the code. Here I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna say username dimensions is new layout params, wrap content and wrap content, these are gonna be our attributes. Alright, so here we have created the dimensions. The next step is to actually set this text which says username. So let's do that by saying username. Let's actually write the text over here. This is the text username, right? Let's actually write stuff like this in comments so that we know which text view object is exactly what in the code. So here this username is what we need. We need to set the text for that by saying set text. I'm gonna say username over here. Next, again I need to set an ID for this. I'm gonna say username dot set ID. We have created this ID already at the top. You guys can see over here, int username ID equals to 2. Now this is the one which we need to use. So here I'm gonna simply pass this username ID inside the brackets for this, and we are done setting the ID. Now the next thing we need to remember is the rule. Now remember, this username is stuck to the left side of the parent. So let's first put that rule over here. If you guys remember, the rules are added inside this object username dimensions, which is nothing but our layout params, right? So let's go and do that here inside this method create name text view. I'm gonna use this username dimensions object. I'm gonna say dot add rule relative layout dot align parent left is first rule that we're gonna add. We're done with that. Next, another important rule is that this username should appear below this please login first, right? For that, what we need is we need two things. We need to first specify the rule which is layout below, and we also need the ID of this text view which says please login first, so that we can tell that username, hey, appear below this guy. For that, I'm gonna write something like this: username dimensions dot add rule, another rule. Alright, now as you guys can see, it says int verb and int anchor. Now this is the construct method which we need. So here I'm gonna say that the verb is gonna be this relative layout dot below, and below whom? Below the guy whose ID is message ID. Now this is why we need IDs. Alright, now as you guys can see over here, message ID is 1 over here. Alright, now what is this message ID? This message ID is basically set to your message text view. Where is the message text view? This is the message text view. Here I have set the ID by saying message dot set ID is message ID. So here when I say it should appear below message ID, then that's going to appear exactly below that. So let's run this and see how this looks. First we need to call this method create username text view. So let me call that over here inside my on create method right below this, and I also need to add that by saying to the relative layout by saying main dot add view. The object which I need to add is username. The prompts for that are username, dimensions. Alright, so let's select this and run this and see how this looks. Select it on the left side, click run at the top. Alright, so here if you guys notice, things are working perfectly. Our username has appeared exactly below our please login first text view. So you guys can see the amount of code involved just to make two text views appear one below each other. And this is the reason why Android developers keep telling you all the time that guys, please use XML for defining your layouts and stuff. So you guys get the point of how things work, right? Alright, so in the next video we are gonna continue further from where we have left. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel, comment, let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next bit. Have a nice day.